In two wonderful films, the same line occurs at the end. One of them was The Color of Money, and Paul Newman says at the end of the film, "I never left," meaning he took a long hiatus from the pool hustling world and maybe sponsored somebody else, but he personally never left, and he was always going to come back into that world as a performer, a player. And then, years later in this movie, A Quantum of Silence with James Craig, the James Bond movie. At the end, they said, "Oh, are you going to come back into the, British CIA?" And he says, "I never left." Meaning he was always there. There was always a tie-in, you see. There's always an attachment. There's always a zika. It's a tie-in in Jewish Talmudic talk. It's the tie-in between the yibum and, the woman, the childless widow, and the brother of the man who died. There's an obligation for the brother to have a child or intercourse with the deceased brother's wife. It's a zika, it's a tie-in. This tie-in, this zika, I envision as the umbilicus, you see. That's the 9-month tie-in to the mother. And then when that umbilicus is cut, there's still a tie-in. There's a tie to that mother. It's a deep tie. An unconscious tie that you're always tied. Very often, if somebody wants to be tied up, even in sexual things, it's with a tie, a rope, a long umbilicus. The kav that comes out of Ein Sof to bring light into the world and energy into the world is no different than this same type of umbilicus. Anyway, this perpetual tie-in, you see, happens to every action. Not only with like a yibum and the Helitza world, but a tie-in to every action. How about, do you remember, this is why this is an answer to the question, do you have to watch out for attachment forever to friends or something like that, or to talk. Do you remember your first kiss? Everybody does. They don't remember the 14th person they kissed, but they always remember the first. In my case, I remember the first, and I remember the second because I just so happened to be somebody who turned out to be the most beautiful woman in Hollywood. And you have to be careful. The Zika comes from the root, by the way. Zika has its own gematria, but Zika comes from root Zion Kuf Kuf, which in itself is 207, and that's Ein Sof. But this tie-in, every activity, See, this is why you can't have intercourse. All types of intercourse. Verbal intercourse, sexual intercourse, because a tie-in is made with whomever you do this with. Forever. So, as a, growing up man or something and being a stud, he goes out and has sex with a woman, they're tied forever in the spiritual world. If you have a conversation with a woman or a man, you're tied forever. Your two souls are tied forever. So you have to be very careful what you do. This is the whole deal here. Because whatever you do is written in the Akashic records. That's like the Torah of the world, every activity. It's written in the Akashic records and it's printed. It's stamped. There's a stamp in the Akashic records. And that activity, that's set. It's there. It's a zika. It's a tie-in. And what does the word religion mean? Religion means to tie. Religion means to tie. Retie. So when you do religion, you're retying into God. But you never left. You don't have to be retied. You don't need religion. You never left. You were always there in your mind. It's just this bodily world that is looking to separate us from our potential, which is being a spark of God. All souls, God only had to create one here. God created Adam. And all the neshamas were in Adam. So I have a spark of the original man. And that original man was made in the forms of God. I have that spark of God. I have a spark of Adam within me. And the world is trying to keep me from it. And the religions are trying to keep me from it because they want to retie me to it as if I'm separated. I'm not. As Paul Newman said, it's not James Craig, it's Daniel Craig. In Daniel Craig. As he said in Solemn of Silence, I never left. So why do I have to be retied? I never left. Every activity you do ties you to whatever it is that you are doing at that time. So if you're spilling your seed in masturbation, that seed blossoms into spirits or whatever, you're tied to those forever. If you talk foolish talk to people, you're tied to that forever. You see? So guard yourself. Because whatever you're doing is done forever. Its effect is forever. Can you handle that? Can you handle that? That the effect of your activity right now is forever? So be careful. Be careful what you do. You need a book to tell you this? Adam had a natural religion. A naturalness in the Gan Eden. It's come down in books and read and go to the rabbi to get an opinion. That's like going to a doctor to get a medical opinion. Doctor, I think I have a cold. You know? All these social opinions. Remember, the spark of godliness is in Adam. Adam. You know when there's a blood spot in an egg, that comes from the dam of Adam. Dalet Mem. Adam. That's where your soul comes from. Why do you have to be retied? You are. Now, what would this mean? What would this mean? You see, let's not compare. See, you have your unique spark, your individualized spark, the Aleph of the Aleph and Dam. The first letter of Adam, the Aleph. You have your uniqueness. How are you expressing your uniqueness? Be careful that you tie that uniqueness, what you tie it with, because it's going to last forever. Every kiss, every word you say, every flirt, it links that person to you forever. Be careful. If you want to elevate your soul and your consciousness, that's what our potential is here. Not to tell me about health care down here. Plug into Raphael. Tell me about insurance, life insurance, and health care, and permanent houses when you're on a 40-year journey in the desert. I'm going to wrap this up with everything down here in the social world is by comparison. But there is no comparison, you see. That's why I don't believe in competition. Competition, like in a tennis match, is me against somebody else. There is no me against somebody else. It's only me. Me, 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 me. That's all there is, you see. I'm not going to get myself happy because I beat some guy worse than me. And the perfect example is the Christmas card that I receive every year from Brad Pitt. I don't know if you know this, but Brad Pitt sends me a Christmas card every year. He says, "Dear Steve, if it wasn't for people like you, men like you, I wouldn't be the handsomest man in the world. I got one this year. Dear Steve, if it wasn't for men like you, maybe me, I, Brad Pitt, wouldn't be the handsomest man in the world. Truer words were never spoken, because it's only in relation to others that you get, oh, he's the handsomest man in the world. A comparison with others. I'm not in comparison with anybody. I have my own unique spark in Adam. And this is part of my issuance of the religion of Adam. I'm Jewish. Adam was Jewish. Mine is the religion of Adam. In Gan Eden. Being a fruitarian. So, this is partially in response to a question that I received, and I hope it answers your question. Thank you very much.